Hi, everyone, and welcome to Application Now. I'm Itay Sharfi. I founded Application Now to help people who are interested in breaking into tech and, in general, looking at their next tech opportunity. Together with me at this session is Abdul. Abdul is a senior at George Mason University. He contacted me to ask a couple of questions that might be helpful to a lot of students. So I thought, why not? Let's make this into recorded sessions, and maybe other would benefit from that as well. So Abdul, would you like to say something about yourself and
Yeah.
introduce?
So yeah, hi, my name is Abdul. I am a senior at George Mason studying cloud computing, and I'm interested in breaking into tech and learning more from Itai here.
Cool. So how can I help you? Maybe I think you have a couple of questions. We can do like
Mhm.
maybe 20 minutes of that.
Yeah.
How can I help? What questions do you have for me?
Okay. So I could start off with what tech field do you currently work in, and what other tech-based fields have you worked in previously?
Sure. So in general, my experience is in two fields, which are kind of related. The first is advertising technology.
Mhm.
So I'm working at Google for the past decade, almost a decade, on advertising technologies, most recently with a product that's called the Privacy Sandbox.
Mhm.
Before that, I was working on a product that was a clean room for ads, known as Ads Data Hub, and before that on search ads.
Mhm.
Also, in addition, I am worked for many years on platform infrastructure, cloud, and other type of infrastructure technologies. I started like 5 years as a software engineer.
Mhm.
Then after my MBA at MIT, I transitioned to product management, doing similar things for
Mhm.
the past, how much is like almost 20 years now, getting old, something like that.
Mhm. Okay. That's great. So what made you interested in working in tech, and what was the first role that broke you into this space?
Sure. So what made me interested working in tech is that my father worked in tech
Mhm.
uh, many years ago, and that's how I was exposed to that. Um, I started a bachelor. That was my first role, and then I also my first role was in a company that was called Bakery Interactive that got acquired by Hewlett Packard. So I was working there on analytics based on databases. That company was in Israel, and after that I went to school in the US.
Okay. So, what certifications do you currently hold, and which ones do you think have been the most valuable in your career?
I do not have any certifications.
Mhm.
I think that any technical certifications, I found certifications to be excellent when you in one of two categories. One is if you work in a regulated area, you need certifications. That was never my case. The second is if you cannot get experience, then certifications help.
Mhm.
Some fields are very hard to get experience without like having experience. A good example for that is like program management.
Mhm.
You can't just open your laptop as a student and become a program manager. Like it's because you need people and projects and stuff like that. But you can be a developer.
Mhm.
So I never had any certification.
Okay. What skills do you think you use the most as a tech professional? Like technical skills should be the first one.
Sure. Technical skills. I think the most that I use is probably things like architecture and solutions.
Mhm.
Something that happens again and again is that, at least in platform, you see a lot of different systems, and they all come with like 30-page,
Mhm.
and they all kind of look different.
Yeah.
So I think the technical skills is understanding just, okay, who calls what, how the data flows, figuring out the architecture in a high level. At least for me, after doing that for 20 years, I've seen almost all of it. So when I see a new system, instead of waiting for, I don't know, a couple of days or a couple of weeks to figure out like what it does and kind of starting from the details. I'm just, okay, like what's going on here? So I would say it's like high level solutions. Another thing that happens that I use a lot from a technical perspective is looking at the user journey and the user experience. That also quite help to understand, because otherwise you get lost in the details. Like, okay, what impact does it have on the user?
Mhm.
So
What about the soft skills? What do you think is the most important soft skills to work in tech?
I think there is maybe three types of important soft skills to work in tech.
Mhm.
Um, I would say that in corporate, it's very important, like understanding how organization works and how to get things done. When you have thousands of people, it's sometimes difficult to get things done. So just to even understand the dynamic of the organization, how organizations work, what different people work on, what are they trying to do or not trying to do. So this is kind of one soft skill, just even like understanding what's going on. The second, I would say, soft skill is I have a small company in addition. It's sales.
Mm.
So soft skills of sales not as like pushing things, as listening to what people say and what they need and how you can help them. So it's kind of like a consultative type of sales. I think the third skill, which is kind of related, I would say it's grit. At least for me, across my career, you'll find yourself in difficult situations, and in many cases, you need to kind of keep going.
Yeah.
And that could be looking for a job. That could be, a project that maybe things do not go well. It might be any other type of challenges that you have. Sometimes it's difficult, and I think that's also an important soft skill to have.
So like moving on to like landing internships or like entry level jobs, what advice do you have for someone for someone looking to land like a cloud job or any tech internships?
Sure.
Yeah.
So there are two types of internships. There is the formal and the informal.
Yeah.
The formal internship are those that you see posted and everybody apply to.
Yeah.
There are not that many of them
Mhm.
today.
Yeah.
Why? Because internship in large part are to create a pipeline of candidates.
Yeah.
You can test drive people and decide if you want them or you don't want them. Today, when open positions have 10,000 applicants, there's just no need for that.
Yeah.
So the internship pool is drying out. The second is informal internship. I would say I don't think I ever got a formal internship while I was at school. I always got informal, and I had maybe a couple of them.
Yeah.
Informal internship is you care about something.
Mhm.
That's something that you care about. You can demonstrate it to somebody else who needs somebody who cares about something, and then they can hire you. What a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of managers, they have like an OpEx budget. It's like a small budget. Internships are like real cheap. So in the end, somebody who's willing to take a leap of faith on you, that's all it takes.
Mhm.
And I think that, at least for me, all of my internships were like that, and had more than, I think I had like maybe four, something like that.
Mhm.
Maybe 3 out of 5 or something were paid, something along those lines. I think what's important is be good at something.
Yeah.
Whatever that something is. And
Mhm.
then whatever you're good at, that could be something that you're offering. So you could offer, hey, I noticed that you have this or that, like integration or some other thing. There's always like projects on like the peripherals that are like, okay, sure, why not?
How important do you think internships are for landing a full-time job in your experience?
I think it's critical.
Yeah.
The reason it's critical is, imagine that now something, There is no more junior roles.
Yeah.
Nobody is a very strong goal. Almost no company wants somebody with no experience.
Yeah.
So you need experience.
Mhm.
Now, what are your alternatives? You can do a project, sure, but then it's very hard to assess what you actually did. Or you could do an internship. What is an internship? An internship validates for me three things. If I see an internship on your resume, first, somebody thought you're good enough, so maybe you're worth inviting out of the 10,000 of other people,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
The second, because you pass something, it's kind of like university. What is the point of a university degree in many cases is to show that you made some bar and were able to maintain.
Yeah.
The second is it shows me focus. A lot of people post-graduation, especially in the US, because of many reasons, they apply to everything. How do I know that you graduated computer science is actually interested in, I don't know, advertising technology? Let's take that. Let's say I work in advertising technology. How do I know that you care about this? I know that you care about this because you've done an internship there.
Mhm.
So it's not random.
Yeah.
So that's a proof to me that you're committed to this field, or at least interested enough in this field. So you kind of have something about this. And the third, it gives me something to interview you about. Instead of just using lead code to an interview, which is a combination of people cheating or overtraining, or it's like, I think today is not giving the best, sorry, not lead code, I mean like coding. Lead code is how you train.
Mhm.
I meant like coding exercises.
Yeah.
I can actually ask you questions about something you actually did.
Mhm.
Now, of course, there is an NDA, so you're not going to tell me exactly. But if you work in Attic, maybe I can ask you a couple of questions about Attic. You work on programmatic, I can ask you questions about programmatic. I would say, oh, you worked on database. Okay, have you used caching? Have you used indexes? I was like, okay, how much do you actually care to learn about something you work on?
Mhm.
There is some meat there. So it also makes the interview better. Something that people don't understand about interviews that the default is to reject.
Yeah.
So they're looking to extract additional signals. So that gives me something I can extract the signal on. Like say I'm giving you a programming exercise, right? You're sitting on your screen. I don't know, maybe you're cheating. Or maybe you just practice a lot. It's not like a strong signal, so I might pass.
Mhm.
Even if you done that successfully. So that gives a bit more. So
Are there any specific companies or programs you would recommend like applying to or working in, something like that?
there is no specific company. I would give an advice. So
Yeah.
maybe a couple of things. The first is try and be good at something.
Yeah.
It used to be that you could be just a software engineer.
Yeah.
Uh, we're not in those days anymore.
Mhm.
Now you need to be an iOS software engineer, like an Android software engineer, or like AI agent software engineer, something. You need to know something. The days where they're just going to take a software engineer, say you're smart, and invest 6 months to a year to just repurpose you, are not here anymore,
Yeah.
mostly. So you need to know what you're doing. So I would say the first thing is when you say specific company, I would say first think what you actually want to be good at. It could be anything, whatever works for you. The second, find the best company in the field and go for the best brands that you can,
Mhm.
but in a niche.
Yeah.
In a niche means don't look for a brand that's necessarily like a Fortune 500,
Mhm.
but go to a company that knows to be good in that field. Like if you're really interested in crypto, there are phenomenal companies in crypto. They're not necessarily the public companies. Which again, if you're not interested in crypto, that's fine too. So I think that's my advice. And my third advice is never compromise on the role. So if somebody will tell me I can get an offer at like a blue chip, like a well-known fan company, but it's not going to be software engineering. It's going to be whatever, support or something else, versus going to some startup, but to be a software engineer, I will say take the startup.
Mhm.
because you want to be in the right game. You can always upgrade yourself. This is not like medical school.
Mhm.
You can always upgrade yourself. You started in a company, it's not well known, not a big deal. You know, OQ2, have some experience, go to a better company, nothing bad happened. But if you're not a software engineer, let's say you become like a program, then people are, it doesn't translate well, and then you might get stuck on program, which is perfectly fine if that's what you want to do.
Mhm.
But don't do that as a compromise.
Yeah. Are there any like certifications or platforms like AWS, Azure, CompTIA, stuff like that that are particularly helpful for students entering tech, cloud, cyber, any of that?
I always recommend real experience over
Really?
certification.
Mm.
That's at least what I've seen. I work at Google for a decade. I work at other companies. Certification, I would say it's great. Experience is phenomenal. There are many companies, any company today, that need cloud deployment because everything runs on the cloud.
Yeah.
Right? You go to any company does anything, right? I mean, my company or any company, they always need stuff to run on the cloud. And cloud deployment is always like an annoying thing on the side that's not like part of the core business,
Mm.
right? Because it's like deployment,
Yeah.
like CI, CD, deployment, stuff like that. So I think getting an internship or getting experience doing that, that's kind of what's best to go for. Now, certification is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So there are AWS certification or Google Cloud certification, and those are perfectly fine. I think experience beats certification, but you can have both. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm saying this as a person with 3 degrees and also a teaching professor.
Mm.
I teach at Cal State Fullerton.
Mm.
But I think experience, that's kind of what you want to go for.
How do you stay updated with like the latest tech trends and the news coming out of the tech field?
So honestly, I don't.
Mhm.
I stay focused with what clients want.
Yeah.
I'm a product manager.
Mhm.
So for me, it's more like, okay, what are the trends that clients want and how do we help them make money? So I'm working in advertising technology. So I'm like, okay, there's clients. What do clients want? It doesn't necessarily need to be the hottest. Maybe clients want to run, I don't know, like a Java environment. And that's fine. Let's find a way to get this to work. So it's a bit of a different approach, I think, for product management.
Yeah.
For engineer, my definition of an engineer is somebody who solves real problems using technologies.
Mm.
So the best way to get in the cutting edge is to actually have a problem that's worth solving with the cutting edge. So for example, let's assume that now you want to do, I don't know, like say making notes from, I don't know, HTML to JSON or something like that. You don't need the most advanced AI.
Mm.
So you could read on the most advanced AI, but you're not really going to learn much about it because there is no point on using it and it doesn't make any difference.
Mm.
So if you will find a problem where you actually need that, okay, then when you have a problem that actually needs AI, then you will start searching and implementing the cutting edge. So my advice is always find the problem that you actually need a cutting edge technology. And when you find a problem that actually needs a cutting edge technology, that's a cutting edge technologies. Now, what I said now is half true because there are a lot of development tools that could make you productive, and potentially those are not necessarily like part of the solving the problem. But I think that at least for the part of what you're programming, you need a reason to be in the cutting edge. That's what I think. And yeah, you can experiment with tools. The thing is, like, don't get like too lost in the tools. How do you know that you get too lost in the tools? when you look at job description, those are the tools.
Yeah.
So if it don't like go overboard with always being in maybe the cutting edge, without having a problem requiring the cutting edge.
Yeah. I just have a few more questions and then we can wrap up. This is like a double question, like in one. Are there any professional events, like specifically networking events, you would recommend to attend? And how important has networking been in your career?
I don't have any specific professional events
Mhm.
that I could say. A lot of people don't know, but when I was at school, I was at MIT.
Mhm.
I was actually organizer of a professional event.
Yeah.
I was organizing the chapter of Boston chapter of Mobile Monday, which was doing networking event for thousands of people. Also the treasury and a couple of other things. Now, doing those networking events by themselves, I think that was not the thing that made the difference. And I can tell you this is somebody who organized it. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure somebody who like people that attend. But there are two types of networking that I think like are quite useful. The first is going maybe to smaller events with people, if it's alumni or something else, where you can talk more kind of one-on-one and not like those big events. And I think the second is if you invite speakers, that's also enable you to learn things, because like now you can ask your questions and get people's perspective and learn something along the way.
Mhm. Okay.
I would say networking is mostly for one-on-one.
One-on-one. Yeah.
There is a saying, they say, what is if a person is not gonna if a person is not gonna answer your email, then your networking is not very effective. Like you need somebody that you can actually ask questions.
Yeah. What has been the most challenging part of your career so far, do you think?
The most challenging part is to not get stagnated.
Yeah.
At some point, like you're catching up on growth till a certain point, and from that point, there is a lot of people get caught in stagnation. So then, how do you get to that additional level of development? Some people might start companies, right? I did. Some people go teach. I did both. Some people take manager's role, which is growth, different direction, also growth. Some people try to catch up with the hottest technologies. So it kind of depends. But I would say at some point, like growth is like I think where you are, growth is a forcing function. Like you have to grow in order to like get a job.
Mhm.
But at some point, growth is not necessarily in where you want it to be.
Mhm.
Like managerial growth or corporate growth is very different than other types of growth. And that's the challenge. The challenge is how not to get kind of stagnated.
Yeah. So what growth opportunities helped you the most in your career?
Good managers.
Good managers.
Good managers are rare, very rare,
Mhm.
extremely valuable. There is a saying, people join companies and quit managers.
Mhm.
I was lucky across my career to have a few good managers, and that was by far the biggest growth you can have
Mhm.
if you have a good manager. Because if you have a good manager, then you learn, then you have good projects, then also you're not afraid about taking risks.
Yeah.
Because you know that person has your back, so maybe you can try things that are a bit of more of a stretch. You can talk honestly about what you want to do and find. I would say In tech, most managers are terrible.
Mhm.
I know it's recorded, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
When you find a manager that's good, that's gold.
Yeah. Okay. And then final question, do you have any final advice for me as a senior cloud computing major looking for an internship this summer, maybe even a part-time in the fall, to get started in my career? Because I'll be graduating in the fall of 2025, and I still haven't landed an internship. That's why I'm trying really hard for this summer or in the fall.
Be good at something.
Mhm.
That's my advice.
Yes.
Once you're good at something and you will go to companies, the small companies will recognize it.
Yeah.
Be good at something that the small companies care about.
Yeah.
And then you can always find something. And also, I can tell you from my students, a lot of people are pessimistic.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's tough, but it's very doable. Most of my students found good jobs. I'm teaching master students at Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah.
Most of them found good jobs at good companies. Like I know a lot of people, they ended up at Amazon and Google and a bunch of other places.
Mhm.
I think it's doable.
Yes.
The point is like be good at something. I think the internships are actually, if you do them well, it's easier to get than a full time.
Yeah.
So the fact that you didn't get an internship means to me that you were just maybe not using an optimized approach. Because what is an internship? An internship is just somebody who feels like and maybe willing to spend a couple of thousand. I mean, it comes down to that. Like it's
Yeah.
that simple.
Mhm.
So the way that I see it, it's maybe with the strategy. So it
Mhm.
doesn't indicate much for the full time. For the full time, I would be optimistic. I would just say be good at something, whatever that something is.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's like cloud, then get certifications. If you cannot get experience and get like, be very familiar with the tooling, get some projects.
Yeah.
You can still get some internships,
Mhm.
and yeah, just do. It's about doing,
Yes.
and yeah, even like one of my students, he graduated. I think he was looking for a job, and I think after 5 months he became a sweet tree at Amazon. 5 months of not having a job, not
Mhm.
having any offer.
Mhm.
So it takes time.
Yeah.
But I think the market is bad,
Yeah.
but at least from what I see, it looks like there's maybe slight improvement,
Mhm.
but left to see.
All right. Thank you very much. That's all from me on my
Sure,
side.
and good luck.
Yep. Thank you.